Hi, it's Kevin Lebates here, and I did say yesterday that I was going to try to explain ring signatures. So here is an analogy using no computer science terms or mathematical terms that hopefully will give you an idea of what is going on. So in this analogy, we have people who are the equivalent of public keys, and we have some blackmail information on one of those people, and that's the equivalent of a private key. So you have 10 people, say, and 9 of these people you have no control over whatsoever, but the 10th person, you have that specific leverage that means that they will do what you say. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to prove to another party that you do have this information on one of those people without revealing which person it actually is. That then gives you the anonymity property. So what you do is you get the 10 people to play a game of I went to market. And it's a particular game of I went to market where each person is going to name 2 items of fruit, and they pick one item of fruit is passed on from the previous player, and the other one they swap out the previous player's second item of fruit and they name a new one. So imagine that the 10th person is the one that you have the blackmail information on. So the first person starts off and they will just arbitrarily pick 2 items of fruit. Now remember these because it gets important at the end. So the first person says, I went to market and I bought an apple and a pear. Then the second person starts playing the game and they say, I went to market and I bought an apple, and they swap out the pear and they say, and a banana. So they said, I bought an apple and a banana. And then the third person says, I went to market and I bought a banana and a pineapple. And so on, all the way down to person number 8. And by that time, the fruits have all changed. So person number 8 may be saying, I went to market and I bought a mango and a papaya. Now, person number 9 might then say, I bought a papaya and a peach. And then we're on to the 10th person, the one that you actually have control over. And you tell him that I want you to swap out papaya for apple. And he'll do that because you've got that blackmail information on him. So the 10th person says, I went to market and I bought an apple and a peach. And that then makes the circle, because now you can link that back to the first one, who, remember, said apple and pear. So apple and peach can turn into apple and pear. It links together. And when you look at the chain of fruits, each person has named one fruit that the previous person mentioned and a new one, and a person on the outside looking at that circle of fruits that have been named can't tell where it started and where it finished. However, they also know that you have to have been able to tell one person to pick exactly the right fruit in order to make the loop complete. So when they look at the whole set of 10 people, and you have to make sure you don't present them in the order of 1 to 10, you want to kind of rotate it round so that people don't know where you started. But when you look at that circle of people and the fruits that they've named, they all link together back into a circle. And the only way that could happen, and remember we have millions of fruits to choose from in the cryptography world, not just the 200 or so that are out there in the real world. Or I don't know, maybe there's 2,000 different types of fruit in the real world. Anyway, the odds of the 10th person picking the correct fruit to link them back to the first one are so minuscule that in practice it can't happen. And therefore anybody looking in from the outside knows that there must have been at least one person that you were able to control, but they can't tell which one it is because the loop is totally symmetric. There's nothing in that loop that says this one is different from all the others for an outside observer. And that is basically how ring signatures work. So you may need to go back over this again because it is understandable, but maybe not instantly. In any case, I hope that helped explain the concept. They're used in, for example, Monero in order to allow transactions to remain effectively private. When a transaction has occurred, you have a big group, might not just be 10, it might be 100, and that means you have a 1% chance of randomly picking the correct key, or in this case of the example, the correct person who was actually under control of the person initiating the transaction. I think it's very neat, it's kind of fun, and it's interesting that there's actually a real use for it. I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.